Hello and welcome back to SureFire Live. I'm your host, Mark Stoner. Thank you for joining us tonight. Special guest tonight, good friend of mine, recently good friend. Sometimes you meet people and they kind of come in and out of your life, and some people come into your life and kind of stick. Well, this guy's kind of one of those guys. And I met him. This is Mike Fasy. He's going to be our guest tonight. Recently, he announced that he had his first $1 million month in business, and it's awesome. And it's a goal, and we're going to talk about that. And it's quite the milestone. And I asked him to come on, and he's a very giving, sharing person. So he said, absolutely. But quick story before I bring him on. I met Mike at I was speaking for a vendor, and I was I can't remember where I was, somewhere in the Northeast, but I think Mike would remember. But after I got done speaking, he came up to me with a beeline kind of focus. And once you know Mike, you know how he has that focus. He has a look when he looks at you, like he's looking right into your soul. And he said, I need to know more about this chimney cap thing, and I need to know more about coming to see you. What are we talking about here? And like, he was very intent on what I've been talking about. And through the years, he came to Nashville. We did my blue collar university, and he was already on a fantastic track, and it was great to work with him. And there's some funny stories around that too. And then later, he had been working with Chad Murray, and I guess he told Chad, hey, you need to meet Mark. Mark, you need to meet Chad. And that is how I met, Chad Murray. So Mike is kind of a cog in all that. So with that, I want to bring Mike on and hear his story. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah. How are you?
Really good. Really good. Yeah. Things are rocking and rolling over here.
Yeah. So, well, when I met you, when we talked again down at Heat Shield, when we were at that thing, and I said, you're going to have to come out of your out into the industry and start talking to people. And you're like, nope, I don't want to do it. Nope. You remember that conversation?
Oh, yeah. That was a couple times. Yeah. Times. You finally broke me down. Yeah.
So somebody, I wish I could see who this was. His eyes are looking through you.
Chad said the same thing about when I met him. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. Most of the time when we're talking, you're smiling, but when you're focused on something, you have a thing about you that's very focused. And I think that's what most people who encounter you can see. And it's cool. So it's Chad. So Chad said the same thing. But it's awesome. But so let's talk real quick before. Let's get some Mike Fasy backstory. And I know sometimes you like saying this, but can you tell everybody kind of how long you've been in the industry? And you actually run a couple of businesses, and tell us kind of how you did all this.
Yeah, well, I've been in it for a long time. I was a teenager. I started doing this kind of work. It was two trades back then. We'd sweep chimneys in the winter. It was very seasonal. Wouldn't even try to do forward scheduling or anything like that. I'd sweep chimneys in the winter and then do window screens in the summer. So I'd have a big trailer with a bunch of window screen frame, and I'd pull up at people's houses and build screens. And, just as soon as one trade started getting slow, the other trade picked up, and that's what I did. But it was very much, traditional top hat kind of chimneys. Like, how many chimneys can you sweep a day? Maybe do some crown repairs, maybe some caps. Really no education, just how many can you do a day?
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of us were like that.
Yeah. And after doing that on my own for a year or two, it just felt like Groundhog Day to me. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't live the same day every day for the rest of my life. And so I hired someone to run it for me. And I was like, I had a friend who was a pilot. He took me up in a helicopter, took the doors off, and we just were buzzing around over the river. And I was like, oh, this could be your job. Like, this is badass. So I became a fixed wing pilot. And then after my first license, I kind of mapped it out financially, and I was like, this is going to take a long time to pay my bills. And then I got a job working for a big framing company, and this as well, like everything was booming. So, and they wanted me to be like the license holder. So they helped me get my GC license,
Yep.
which is really cool. And I got to go around to like, I mean, I was like probably the most worthless guy in the company. Like I didn't speak Spanish. Everyone spoke Spanish. I got these weird projects. Like they had a 40-foot saw. It was cool though. It cut all the top and bottom plate. And they tasked me with taking it out of their, they had a wall plant, take it out of their wall plant and make it mobile. So I bought this 40-foot shipping container and put this big saw in it. And it had like a laser, would etch where all the windows and doors go.
Really?
And we plopped it out in the middle of a dirt field, got a giant generator, and they gave me a crew to run it. And I mean, it's hot. You're working in this like shipping container in the middle of a field in the summer. And I found out that I could actually run it more efficiently by myself. So I'd send the crew home, and so you'd have to feed the machine. It worked at a certain pace. And then you'd grab the material at the other end of it and like hammer it together and kind of wrap it up to go. And, one unit would be like one apartment. And so, yeah, it was kind of just like a workout. I was like, I'm just at the gym all day. I'd be drenched in sweat.
It's kind of like building a firebox where only one guy can really build it. Everybody else just kind of watch it. They bring you the mud and sit there and watch one guy do the work. And so,
yeah, it was super fun. So, and I got to see a lot of like meetings where it was a bunch of leaders or business owners, and even that, I mean, being so young, I instantly just noticed like, hey, these guys aren't like, some of them were pretty bright, not all of them though. But the common denominator, I was like, oh, these guys are just really good at making decisions. Like they're all decisive, just boom, 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 right or wrong. They make a decision and they go. And that's what separated them from, everybody else. So
you learned that business, but then got out of it, got back out of it, back into chimneys.
Yeah. Then 2008 happened, and, the housing bubbles. And so that kind of fell apart. And I came back to my business. I'd always done the marketing, and I'm like, how come we're not busier? How come, but I had one guy running it. So of course, like, who knows all the bad stuff that was happening, right? So he actually, I don't know what happened. He dusted a house or something pretty bad. And I had to fire him right at the same time I was coming back anyway. And I started answering the phones, and they were ringing off the hook. I'm like, oh my God. And luckily I had leased a little space. I was building like furniture on the side or something goofy like that. And then, so luckily I had like a little bit of warehouse space and just started hiring people. But that was a pretty rough time. I mean, really, why every time I see you, I'm so like appreciative. And what the chimney industry did for me, like I was just plodding along, like going nowhere, working my ass off. And until I, started hearing you talk and hearing other people talk. And, like I went, one of the first things I went to was Lindemann's thing in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in the classes, and even then I like wasn't super into it. I'm just like, I don't really get it. And I was sitting next to somebody, and I was like, what's the one takeaway you have, or something like that? And they were like, oh, read this book, Traction. And I went home and I read that book, and it changed everything.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and so backing up just a little bit, why didn't you go to college? How did you find yourself in the trades and not going to school for a degree?
Yeah, I started going to college. I started going to college in high school. My mom, I don't think anyone from my family had been to college, so it was always like spotlight was on me to do that.
Right.
And I went, and it was just like, I mean, I didn't go to a good college. I went to like a community college, and I went for maybe a year and a half or something. I was like complaining in front of my mom one day. I'm like, man, this is so horrible. Like I'm just sitting there like losing my mind. I was like, I could read these books in a couple days and get all the knowledge out of the class in a few days. But instead I'm sitting there an entire semester. And my mom turns to me, she's like, why are you going? I'm like, for you. The only reason is for you. so that was it. I dropped everything that day. You know, I think if I had gone to like, maybe if I was in a better program, would have been more entertaining. But I always knew I wanted to be in business. I was always an entrepreneur. And hearing other guys' stories, I feel differently. You know, I don't feel like, oh, I was a technician that kind of stumbled into this. Like from the very beginning, I was a business owner.
Right. And some people, like my daughter, knew that, right? My daughter, I mean, she couldn't work for somebody else. She's total entrepreneur through and through, and she knew it from the beginning. I kind of went along that path, but I worked for a while in a factory and did stuff. So I kind of defined my entrepreneur spirit. And but I've got several questions or several little things real quick. I want to catch you up on what people are saying. So this is funny. Cody Whitwood says it's the Fasy focus. And he said, it's chimney time, baby. Let's do this. And then also that you hand out awesome hats. I wore my hat tonight that was from you. You cost me a lot of money. You sent me these hats as a gift. Yeah. And then everybody wanted them. So I had to spend thousands of dollars because everybody, and I walked into a car dealership the other day getting my oil changed, and the guy's like, I need one of those hats. So thank you, Mike. You started something in our industry with these type of hats. Steve Scally said, way to go, Mike. And then also Scally said Traction is an awesome book. So Susan, she works with me. She said, fired for dusting a house. Yikes. We might have had to have some more firings around our place. But so we got a great crowd tonight. Chris asks, how did you handle the stress of beginning out and figuring out, filling out your positions that you needed?
I mean, it was just total chaos. And I guess I just didn't know any better. You know, now I feel it's so much different. I don't know what I was doing back then. I was just under a rock. You know, I wasn't reading books. I wasn't educating myself.
Right.
And now that they're like really, the thing that's so cool about the chimney industry is everybody's helping each other out. And I'm in a few different industries and they're not all like that. Where'd you go, Mark? So I'm in a few different industries, and a lot of them are, you know, they're the opposite. They don't want to help you out at all. And so, you know, there's that, and it's just so easy to get information now. Yeah. YouTube, there's leadership books, it's all out there. So, I mean, it's still the way that we're growing, and what I tell people, you know, I ran into a new guy this morning from Las Vegas, his first day, and I was like, yeah, man, the vibe is, you know, it's kind of like chaos sometimes, and that's a growing company. It's exciting. You know that there's a future for you that you can grow into, and you know, it's not for everybody.
I think it's a good point about what you said about chaos. So like when I first met you, you know, when we started going through your business, you're like, I don't really know quite how I'm doing all this. I'm just kind of doing it. And you were very transparent about not having all the answers and not knowing exactly all the things to do, but still kind of being fearless to go into it. And how, like, what is your feeling about risk and chaos, or like, how do you look at businesses and how do you push forward so fast and so hard?
I think I'm just kind of dumb, you know. My strength, right? Like if you overthink it and plan it to death, you're never going to do it. So you just gotta, hey, let's dumb it down a little bit and do it. You know, a few years ago, maybe a year or two before I came out to see you, I really tried to follow that traction book, and I read it and I'm like, okay, I think I'm the visionary. And then I went out to find an integrator, like very, very specifically, like someone that's opposite of me.
Right.
So I'm the chaos in the company. Michael Rice, our integrator, he's the yin to my yang. He's the numbers guy. We're total opposites. We get along great. We're like almost exactly the same age. We're both named Mike. It's like,
Except when you came to Nashville, he was the chaos.
we were both. We were, yeah. Well, you set us off. Hey, go down.
Right.
We're like, hey, we're tired. We want to go go to bed. You're like, no,
Really?
just go check out Nashville. And
I don't remember that conversation going like that.
yeah.
So I got a question here. Susan Rainey says, do you guys think success is more nature or nurture?
Success? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's two parts. I think you have to have a drive to start something internally. And also you just have to have a grind about you. It's like, I think you have to have a consistency for the grind. And to me, that's kind of what it is. We learn, we're not afraid to start and fix it as we go. And I think to her point, a lot of people try to fix it all before they start, and therefore they never start. And you and I and Chad and several others, and I think Chad's saying is go get yourself in trouble. Our point is let's go, it's ready, fire, aim kind of a thing. And I think we go hard into it, and we have enough confidence internally to know that we can, just like you did with making, going out and getting rid of everybody and making those doors, and you could figure it out. Like, I think for me, I have enough confidence that if I'll jump into it, I'll figure it out. Would you put yourself in the same category?
Yeah, I don't think I was born that way. I think what happened, like I had a really, really good upbringing. My mom was super awesome. We got to do all kinds of, she brought us to Tahoe like every weekend. I was on ski teams, like everything was great. And it was like too great. And I was kind of a chaotic teenager. And we got in an argument one day, and she's like, if you're not, something about being under my roof and following my rules. And it clicked. I was like, oh, I could move out and not fall. Right. So I was like 16, I don't know, something like that. And I moved out the next day. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna fail. I'm not gonna like be in a situation where I'm gonna call my mom, hey, can I come back home? And so just whatever it took. And like, I didn't have much of a job. It was, I was not even 18. And I ran out of money at one point. I remember going into the grocery store with like $7. That's going to last me 2 weeks. I walked out with liver and onions for so
Oh, wow. Bad choice.
Yeah. Like, well, liver's cheap, onions are cheap. But yeah, not for 2 weeks. And yeah, I think that's what kind of flipped my brain into that mode. Like, I'm going to make this work no matter what.
I think so too. I think this is still Chad. So one of the questions, what part of the country is Mike's business in? I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. So I'm in Sacramento right now. We're in Northern California. It's growing my business. We've been doing the chimney fireplace trade, but we also still do the window screens. And more recently, we do security doors. And the part of the business that we're really scaling right now is the security doors. So we're opening a bunch of satellite locations. I kind of made a big goal for the company. And so it's going fast. It's like easy to make the goal, and so it's hard to make happen. So in the last couple months, yeah.
You're scaling that business. You're probably still growing the chimney business locally, but your focus right now is to scale. You found something very scalable in that security door business that you like. I can plant these. basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're still growing the fireplace and chimney business. We have super awesome people that are finally like coming into their own. We got a guy, Mark Alling, who's just, loves to give back to the community. You know, one of his big goals is like to teach kids. So he wants to build a gas training facility. I'm like, you got to come with us to the heat shield thing and talk to, guys like you and hook up with the CSA. And so I'm like backing him 100%. But yeah, security doors, we're opening up satellites all over the place. So we have, LA, San Diego, Austin, Houston, Fort Worth, Dallas, Phoenix, Las Vegas.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So how important is so I'll just tell my story real quick, and I think it kind of, I remember when Mike Bodart several years ago said, hey, we had our first $1 million month in the chimney business, and it blew me away, but it set an internal goal that it could happen. It's possible. And then we hit it several years ago, and now we have to, like, it's so funny. You hit the $1 million a month, but then you have to have, like, that's the budget, and then it's 2 million. Like you scale up, but that first million, I remember the first $1 million period was amazing in chimney business, like $1 million in chimney business, and then $1 million a month. And then we were watching a thing, Jimmy Hiller, who's here in town, who has a Hiller, he had $1 million day. And I know somebody else didn't want me to mention it, but they just are finishing their $1 million job in the chimney industry. So there's all these. So how important is that somebody setting that bar out there for you? Like, how important was it for you to focus on?
To hear you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's everything. It, yeah, it totally opened my eyes. I'm like, damn, I know Mark, he did that. I could do that. It wasn't something that I pushed out in front as like a company goal or anything, but it's definitely just rattling around in my head for the last,
It does.
year and a half. And, I noticed us getting close, and I was like, hey, we could do a couple overtime days and get it this month. And, yeah, super
Well,
cool.
I think you really, by putting it out there, and especially the way you did it, is very respectful, but also kind of letting the industry know this is what's happening in our industry and it's possible, right? You put it out there, and I think you've inspired a lot of people. Like, I can tell that you doing that has inspired. It's put that little seed in a lot of people's head.
I hope so. I know it's like, business owners, we talk about revenue, and there's some numbers like that because I think it's just like a tangible thing that you can bite on, right? But really, like, what I wanted to say is, like, I'm so proud of my team, like these individuals that have just grown massively over the last couple of years, and they just blow me away. Like that kid I posted the picture, actually, I mean, he's 24, but he's running our company. He that it just blows me away, and how fast that he's moving and learning and growing. I mean, I was nothing like that when I was 24.
So there's probably, yeah, right. And me neither. I was welding in a factory. So tell people, a lot of people are like, well, if I had people like Mike does or like Mark does, I could do it too. Talk to people about how important you building a culture to foster that is.
What really helped, one thing that made a big difference is I went back and reread Traction, and actually Tristan from Rooftop, he was like, I told him about our level 10 meetings. He's like, I don't think you guys are doing it quite right, or it could be better or something. So I reread it, and I'm like, yeah, we're not following the time frames. We're not doing this and that. So we just followed it to a T a few times and got it dialed in. And then I added in, I made a list of videos, just YouTube videos on leadership or whatever. And we watch one of those. And so it adds 15 minutes to the meeting. And so I made a list of like 30, 40 videos, and we never get through them because there's always like something that pops up that week. So I could find a video that's more relevant. But it generally has to do with leadership, management, something like that. And so we watch a video, we go around the table with action items, and maybe 1, 2, 5 videos don't make much of a difference, but you do that for a year and a half, and that really shifts the culture. And then we started doing that, with different departments and all throughout the business. And just level 10 meetings in general. Like anytime there's like, I sense there needs to be some accountability in a department, or even externally, like if you're talking to a marketing company and you're like, man, every time we meet, we tell them this and they forget it or it doesn't happen. We just throw level 10 meetings around and keep track of it that way.
We used to do level 10 meetings, and you've got me inspired to get back into the level 10 meetings. I used to do them when I think we probably came back from the same meeting. I don't think we knew each other in Puerto Rico. I was there too. And I think Todd Smart was speaking, and he was the integrator for Lindemann, and he was the EO representative. So talk about a level 10 meeting. For those who don't know what it is, can you just give a quick rundown of how, now, again, I highly recommend reading the book. But this is a very organized weekly meeting. Can you give a rundown about what's in that level 10 meeting?
Yeah, so Dan typically runs them. Everything is timed, so it'll be 5 minutes. You go around the table. Everyone starts off with some good news. Could be personal, could be professional, a win that they had in business. Then you go over, and we've changed ours throughout over time. So you go over maybe company metrics. Then there's a few minutes to go over our quarterly rocks update, where everyone's at.
And so real quickly, if you don't know, rocks are the big goals that you need to get done in 30, 60, 90 days. The big stuff that you got to make sure that you're responsible for, that you get done. So you go over those and do updates on the rocks.
Thank you. Yeah. Otherwise you're just plowing through day to day and you never get to those things. So, yeah, where's everyone at with their rocks? Then you go through last week's issues and was this done? Was this not done? So that's where all the accountability comes in, because it's always assigned to somebody. And you don't want to be the person that like 2 weeks in a row is like, oh, I didn't do this for what, that doesn't feel good. So there's a lot of accountability there. And then it goes into the issues. So everyone has to bring an issue.
And the issues are the longest amount of time, right? In your meeting.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think
most of these things you're talking about are 5 or 10 minutes, and the time goes off and you move to the next.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the issues, you spend about an hour on there.
It's about a 2-hour meeting, hour and a half meeting.
About an hour and a half now. And they always used to try and push them long, because we always have more issues than you get to. And they're like, let's just stay extra half an hour and go through. And I let them do it once or twice, and then I was like, nah, we got to cut it off, because then you have too many issues. People can't fix them during the week, and then it just messes up the whole thing. And if there's not an end to it, then people that's a time to really hardcore focus on your business. And I saw a post the other day, someone was like, oh, how do you spice up your level 10 meetings and make them more fun and this and that? And somebody chimed in like, you have fun the rest of the time. Like your level 10 is where you buckle down and solve the problems.
Yeah. And then you wrap up.
Yeah. And then one cool thing we did is we got Dan a little buzzer. So if, it's just natural for people to get sidetracked. One issue blends into another one, and, all these weird kind of side topics. And so when that starts happening, he just presses this buzzer, and it's like he records different things on it, and it makes everybody shut up and start over.
And so then you just rinse and repeat, right? It's every week. It's amazing how much you can get done, and how also everybody feels heard. And also there's accountability piece to it, that everybody has something to do that they need to be tracking and getting done.
And everybody feels like a part of it. They can get out what they need to get out. It's great for technicians who sometimes feel like, hey, they don't have a voice, or, they notice, like, I don't do that job, so I don't know what issues they're having, and they need an outlet to bring those up and to solve them.
That's a great point. I find that to be one of my problems too, is that, I think Jonah is watching, Jonah Lindley, Jonah, and he brought up some things. I'm like, man, and somebody else brought up something today too, that, I'm looking over here and I'm watching this, and then sometimes people, other things are happening. I don't know that they're happening, but I wish I knew they were happening. And I think this level 10. So would you say that traction was a big part of your $1 million a month, having those foundational things in place? What would you say that, top couple reasons to be able to scale your business to this size? What were they?
Yeah, traction is the structure. Even if it was a business with just myself, I would still follow I'd have a level 10 meeting with myself just to hold myself account. You know what I mean?
It's a level 100.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the structure. And then, I mean, really what that post was, it's like, I just feel so grateful and appreciative that I have all these amazing people around me. I mean, you've met Shannon. She's just, I mean, she's fun when we're hanging out, but she's just 100%. And we're
Yeah.
like both in it right now. And just to have a partner like that who, I don't know, I guess it's pretty unique. A lot of people don't like to work with their partners, or they're like, oh, that's too much. Or we work together all day and hang out and do our hobbies together. And
Quick story. So you and I were in Hawaii a month or so ago, whatever it was. And my daughter was there with us. And so we're there with Jim Brewer, a bunch of old chimney guys. And Mike wasn't there at the beginning. And then we met up with Mike on Hawaii. And my daughter's there. She's like, oh, I really like these young people, you and Shannon. She's like, I like hanging out with the young people. And I thought it was pretty funny because I still don't think of myself as old, but I'm sure I'm there. But so what I think too is interesting about what you're doing is it's with a young crew, and you're able to elevate people. Probably more, like you said, that guy was 24 years old and running your company. A lot of guys wouldn't even give that guy a chance to do it.
he took it, man. I can't, we didn't give him anything. He takes it. He'll work 7 days a week. He'll do whatever it takes. He makes a lot of mistakes, and then he figures it out. And the next week he's like a different person.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at this point, he's a better middle manager than I ever was.
Yeah.
And it's also finding those little things, for him, it was really cool because, it's like, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? And they totally shifted over time. And once I said to him, I was like, do you realize, because he was getting close to where we were going to promote him. And I was like, you realize you're going to be the youngest operator of a $10+ million business in the country. That's not through like nepotism. It's like, I didn't know him 3 years ago. And it just like gives me goosebumps to, and that's just his hard work and devotion, and he sees the longer vision.
I think it's good, great leadership on your part to recognize, promote, and let go of stuff. I think the biggest problem that most business owners have is a control of the whole process too much, that they strangle. The owner is almost always the bottleneck. When I consult with a lot of people, they don't want to hear it, but it's almost always the owner doing something, staying in the way, feeling like they have to do something and they can't let something else go. Would you say, how do you feel about control? I mean, obviously, to me, it's like having a baby. Like, you got a little baby and you got to have a lot of control when it's really young. And then it's a toddler and you still got to be there or kill itself. And then it becomes a teenager and you just got to kind of be hard on it. And then it becomes a mature adult. And all of those times you've got to be learning to let go of all kinds of things. Would you say that's a way you think about it, or how do you think about letting go of command and control of your business?
There's probably some things that I overly control that I could do better at, but I don't know that that's been a huge issue to me. I like to, and at this point, every department in my business, there's people running it that are way better than I am. So it'd be a joke for me to come in there and tell them what to do.
Right. It's exciting. I've said a bunch that, It's actually easier to run a big business than it is a small one.
It is, yeah, in a lot of ways getting easier, and the redundancy is awesome. So, there's those weird sizes in business where you have, one person doing this and they're just like a key person, or just yeah, weird things that don't scale well. I think we were talking before about sizes of business and where you need to like completely redo everything, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, when's the next one coming? And I think it's threes and tens. Have you heard that? Like 3 million, 10 million, 30, 100.
I can believe that. I can totally believe it. I think it probably comes before 30, but I can see that, like, probably as for sure. I always tell people every $1 million is different, but sometimes you do, like, we went 5, 7, 7, 9, 9, 11, 11, 15, and that was a big jump, and it causes all kinds of different things. But I think you're right about that. I know you're right, because not everybody too can scale with you, and I had a situation today where I had a guy, stop, quit, and he'd been with me a very long time, 14 years. And he's like, and he said the thing that I always watch for, which is the death knell of a conversation. I said, well, I liked it better when it was smaller, or man, it's a lot different now, and I liked it better back then. And that's a revisionist history of your business, because it sucked back then too. It's actually better
Yeah,
now.
for
They
sure.
they, they have a tendency to remember things better. But whenever somebody says that, I know they're about on their last stretch with me.
Yeah, it's always better. It's especially if you go on Facebook and see all the like all this stuff about how it's so negative. But I have this coffee table book, and it's like all the positive things that are happening in the world and how much better things are than they were,
Is that the
uh,
one that's got duct tape on it?
no, I don't know what.
There's one that's got a piece of duct tape on it, and it is like that. It actually shows you how much better things are now than they ever have been. You're safer, you're wealthier, you're healthier, like across the board.
I mean, we were in, 2 years ago, we were in like 5,000 square foot, like just crammed into this, tiny warehouse, and everything was dirty. All the trucks were falling apart. This year I bought like 30 something brand new trucks, like all
Isn't
of
that
our guys.
amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it blows my mind. We have this really cool facility. We're building a lot of fun stuff in there, and yeah.
So clearly, what you have is momentum. And that's one thing that a lot of people struggle to get in the chimney business, is any kind of momentum. I would see them at conference after conference, and they were pretty much the same size, or they might have grown one truck, or it's a big deal if they added two trucks. How important is momentum to what you're doing and to your mentality towards growth?
Everyone feels it, and yeah, it's hard. It's like going to the gym, right? When you stop for a while, it's like, man, that first couple times back is brutal. Um, I did a big kind of goal a few months ago. I mean, this year we're actually the goal was to take the foot off the gas, sort out all of our processes, because they totally fell apart last year. We just hit a weird stage in business, and our production processes fell apart. A whole bunch of stuff did. It was just a brutal year. So we're like, hey, let's not grow. Let's just fix everything. And they actually fixed a lot of things way faster than we thought. And I could tell people were getting a little bit restless, and I'm like, okay. And then we opened up one satellite, and a lot of the advertising that I wanted to work out, or marketing, didn't. And we had to rely solely on advertising, and we just made it work. And I'm like, oh, I can replicate this. And so I let it bounce around in my brain for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what? I think we have the crew to have a big goal.
Right.
And I don't know. I think you got to have the balls too to just say it out loud and like
Yeah.
let people hear it.
I
And
love That's right. You do have to say it out loud. You've got to claim it. You got to proclaim it into the universe that this is going to happen, and that everybody knows. And And also momentum is exciting for people, and lack of momentum is bad. Now, sometimes people get tired of too much, momentum. They get kind of weary, but they get weary of no growth too. If you didn't grow, people get tired of that.
Oh,
If you
your
grow too
sound cut
much,
out, Mark.
oh, did it?
Not
Can
sure
you
what
hear me?
happened.
Am I still? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Oh no, what happened? Hold on.
But hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Nothing? Can you hear me? Hold on, mic
Yeah.
settings.
So, well,
Hold on.
I'll tell you what my goal is then while you fix that.
Yes.
A few months ago, I was like, hey, we were $6 million last year. And I was like, hey, I think we can 10X this in 1,000 days. So that was our big goal. And then I figured out how to do it after that.
Right.
And
Can you hear me
it's a
now?
lot. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So I have this countdown timer on my desk. That's how much time we have left, 751 days to get from 6 to 60 million. And we have a plan. It seems to be working so far. Obviously, I've never done it before, so but
Can
everyone's
you
in
hear
it.
me
It's
now?
exciting.
Can
I
you hear
can't hear
me?
you, man.
What is happening? I don't know. I
But
don't
yeah,
know what to do.
in a growing business, I mean, it's not for everybody. And we try and lay out expectations when we onboard and we hire people. You got to embrace the chaos, but there's a lot of stuff that comes from that.
Check.
I would say part of it is I still can't hear you.
That's weird. It shows that you can hear on my side. Let me see if. Okay, so Tim Merriman says he can still hear both of us. So you can't
Oh,
hear
Mark.
me. Oh shoot! It must be on your side. Um, I'm going to text you something, Mike. It's on your side.
No.
Did you see what I typed in? I typed it wrong.
Do you want me to keep talking while you
I
try
can
and fix
hear
it?
you.
Or?
You just can't hear my questions. I'm gonna have to text
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna hold on.
Um,
Call him on speakerphone with my phone. Oh gosh.
Wish I could read lips better.
Shoot, this sucks. Something has happened on your side, Mike.
Chad says we hear both of you, so maybe it's just me that I can't hear you.
Yes,
Oh
that's what
no.
it is.
Let
They
me
can
see
hear
here.
me.
Give me a minute.
It said your speakers got unplugged, is what Jeremy Maynard said. You can't hear me. All right, Mike, I'm going to call you. Hang on. Let's see. Can you hear me, Mike? Nope. Well, shoot, I'm going to call you right now, Mike.
Here we go.
All right.
Mark.
So somehow you can't hear me, but we can hear both. They can hear both of us. So,
Okay.
I guess this is how we're going to have to do it.
I can hear you now. So
You can hear me on the phone or through the speakers.
I get feedback when because it's on.
All right. Let's
the
try
speaker
to.
on.
Okay. So, but can you hear me through the computer now or
No, just through my phone.
Okay. Well, shoot. All right. So the question, let me just read a couple of things real quick. Hang on. You had some questions here. Okay. It said, do you know if it was your most profitable month, your $1 million month, or it was just your highest growth? Congratulations on hitting this benchmark.
Thanks. Yeah, it was actually our most profitable month in a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
So normally when we grew that much, it was not profitable. Whenever I had a big grossing month, especially early on, it meant I had to put a lot of money into the company, buy a lot of stuff to hit that the first time. Um, but it was both of that for you, or because a lot of times when you're growing fast, it's not as profitable. You kind of got to pick one or the other. But it sounds like you're kind of doing both of them.
No, that's pretty true. We went through a bunch of months that were not as profitable. You know, we had a really good business size a few years back where we're doing great, everything's great, and then we decided to grow and grow fast. And so yeah, that's
Yeah.
weren't making, money. And then now I feel like we're just turning a corner, so it's just kind of up from here.
So tell everybody one more time because the phone was blanking out. What's your big goal? Did you say 60 million in like 800, like 2 years?
Yeah, so we're gonna 10x what we did. We did 6 million last year, so we're gonna go from 6 to 60 in 1,000 days. And I have this stupid countdown timer I'm looking at every day right in front of me. And so, we kind of backwards engineered it, what needs to happen to do that. And it's possible, and we're on track. So
So probably one of the questions would be too, how are you doing that? How can you spend that much money? How can you 10x something like that? Is it are you cash flowing the whole thing? Do you have investors or if it's none of my business, that's fine too. But some people want to know, how would you grow that fast?
Well, I think it would be difficult with chimneys. You probably might have to do some acquisitions, and you have a bunch of cash behind you to do it in the chimney business. We're definitely growing that a little bit slower, but to do it with the security door division, I mean, we have our training program that we're getting better and better at. We fly guys in. We're going to have them here for 3 weeks at a time. I bought a house so they don't have to stay in a house instead of a hotel. We'll put bikes in there because they stay over the weekends too, if they live in a state that's further away. So we'll make it an experience for them. Bikes, kayaks. Hey, you can go to Truckee or Tahoe and Yosemite. And finally using Connect Team to do a lot of the training processes, and that's helping a lot. But yeah, having that 3 week turnaround, I'd say our cost on recruiting and putting those guys through training is about 30 grand. But I don't know if we're getting lucky with the guys that we have so far, but
I think you make your own luck. I don't think you're getting lucky. Well, tell me
well,
this. How important was it for you to go see other businesses? I know you came to see mine. You've seen Chad. You went to Tommy Mello's. Like, you've gone out, you've reached out, and it seems like you've put together a plan of best practices and then your own practices, and then you develop this master plan. I mean, is that fair?
yeah, what do they say? R&D, rob and duplicate. I mean, Tommy Mello has a very similar business model. So he had a kind of an open house thing. I'm like, we need to go there. And I told everyone, we took some of our management team. I'm like, all right, you got one goal today. That's to find a mentor. And, so our COO hooked up with their COO, and, probably
Yeah.
they talk
You
probably
just
a couple
learn
times a
so
week.
much. When you get around other businesses, you walk in the door and you learn something. You spend a day or 2 days with them, it'll change your world. There's these companies that stay in their own world and don't get out and see other companies are really missing out on some of the fastest way to grow that there is.
And Hiller was one of the companies that you went to see?
I haven't gone to see him, but I went to see Lee Company, which is 900. They're bigger than Hiller. 900 service trucks. Lee Company, $30 million world class facility for a blue collar business. I mean,
Yeah.
white noise, hundreds of customer service people. Just this whole HVAC world has a lot to teach us in complexity and sophistication, in growing, scaling, and so does Tommy Mello. Like, he's got a whole different philosophy on what can happen with garage doors, right? And you're doing it with security doors. And there's a lot of businesses that you can learn from that. And I know some people have asked to come out to see you. Are you able to have people visit?
Yeah, yeah, more than happy to do that. I know you were talking about doing something in the spring, maybe, and
Yeah, I wanted to do the business symposium out at your place.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
happy to have people out. Yeah, I mean, that's that's who I'm looking at every day. So having $1 million month is like, oh my God, I feel like I'm stuck in the mud over here.
Is there,
That's how
buddy?
I feel every
Is
day.
there,
Yeah.
buddy? You
I'm
get
like, how
around some of
can we
these
got to
guys
go
that have,
faster?
yeah. I mean, again, Hillers have $1 million days, right? And when I went to Lee Company, they do $350 million a year, so they have $1 million days every day, right? That's like what they've built to. I think we've always thought too small in this industry. And I've always, in some ways, I'm considered a big company. And like you just said, in my world, I don't think I'm big at all. I think I haven't even, there's so much more that can be done, so many more customers that can be serviced, but we get in our own ways so much that it's hurt our industry overall. Now, almost all industries have to scale up, but ours, it's time. I've always believed it's time to grow. It's time for Mike Fasy's, and there's a handful of guys like you out there. You might be in the front of the pack, but there's a handful of guys that are wired like you are to see what this chimney thing can do, and by its very nature, other businesses kind of glom onto it, right? I think if you can run a damn chimney business, you can run anything. I think it's the hardest business.
Yeah. Yeah. You're telling me about some of your other businesses, and oh, for sure. So, but that's kind of cool. You get, you do this and makes the other stuff kind of easy in a
It does.
sense.
Like I'm in the powder coating business, and powder coating is actually it's very profitable and so simple. Like the guy I bought the business from thought he was handing me like this super hard business, and I looked around. I'm like, man, this is like a level one inspection is harder than this whole powder coat business. And I could just see how it could grow. And other businesses I have are much simpler. The chimney business, if you can figure it out, you've learned a lot of skills that you can translate into metal fab, powder coating, screen, doors. Like there's a million other things, maybe even HVAC. I haven't figured out HVAC yet. We're on that path, but we're learning it. Well,
Yeah.
we got a few more minutes. Let me make sure if anybody else has any questions for Mike. Here's a question, or it's a statement. It's whatever. Does it bring back memories? Does it bring back memories of starting small, guys? So I think I might have missed something, but I mean, I think everybody starts small, but you don't have to stay small. It's like it's okay to be born poor in America, but if you die poor, that's pretty much your choice. If you die with a small chimney business, that was a million choices you made the entire time to stay small. This thing naturally wants to grow. But what you've done, Mike, what it really keeps coming back, what I keep hearing in this is that you've built systems to grow on. You've built some amazing systems that allow your people to grow and your business to scale.
That, and I feel like it's a snowball rolling downhill, and we're just collecting these people that are amazing over time, and it's like just a magnet. And I mean, that's really what that post was about. Like, I just can't be more proud of my team. And we just have these super cool people all over.
Well, success has great magnetism. And when you are successful, there's a group of people that don't want to lead the way, but they want to have your back. They want to be right behind you as a good leader. They don't want to cut the win themselves. It's too painful out there. But man, they like seeing you win, and they like getting right in behind you. And we need each other, right? They need you, they need me to cut the wind, but I have to have them to keep the thing running. Like you can't do $1 million a month on your own, right? That's not possible. I saw a business analogy of a super bounce. Like, so whenever you're on a trampoline and you jump, you can only go so high. But you got 6
Mhm.
or 8 people on that trampoline and they bounce a little bit before you, it sends you way high. And you're experiencing a super bounce is what this is. I mean, and so do I. With really great people, they can launch the whole thing way faster or higher than anybody with a couple people or one person can do.
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, that's, you kind of alluded to it. You were Mr. World Traveler for a minute, right?
Yeah,
Um, how long were you gone from your house?
a couple months.
Yeah. And then you come back and you're like, oh, I miss this. I miss my people. I
I did.
miss,
Yeah.
and I mean, that for me, that's kind of what it begins to be about, is kind of, I don't totally feel like a coach, but kind of helping and watching some of these people grow and how their lives change for the better.
You know, once money kind of becomes like, it's that hierarchy of needs, right? And once money becomes kind of taken care of, and just acquiring more money isn't as fun as helping other people grow or starting things that help other people. That becomes the real. There's other people that just want to collect dollar bills and stack it up to the ceiling, but after a while your heart kind of comes through. Whether if you're a bad person, more money will expose. If you're a good person, ideally more money exposes that too. And you're seeing that. I remember when one of my guys started not liking to deer hunt anymore, but he liked watching his kid deer hunt. He's like, I get more from watching my kid deer hunt than I do. And I think you're experiencing that with your company and your employees, where it's so exciting to see them win. It does something for you, that you set up a game that they can play and they're winning at it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple more things. There was, he said, now I'm a two-man company. He's really enjoying this live. Jack Washman, who just came to see me, he said, so encouraging to hear this, knowing we're out here trying to make similar things happen. And he's one of those guys I'm talking about. He's wired like you are. He's wired like I am. And he's just getting going and figuring out things. And of course, doing a handful of things wrong, but a lot of things right, which I told him that it's just the barrier to entry. Like you have to be willing to go through the fire and the pain to get to the other side of this, right? You can't, you don't get to escape it.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some rough days, and that's what I tell our management team, our company. We don't get to bypass all these things, all these learning opportunities, right?
Right.
All we're doing is condensing time. So you just have all these learning opportunities one after another, and it feels terrible sometimes.
It does. That's exactly. I love the way you put that, because that's exactly what it is. We're learning and condensing time, and the faster we can go through these problems, it's not like problems ever go away. They just change, and ideally they become less painful problems. But Peloton is laying off, like, I can't remember, 30,000 people, and they're one of the number one, like, they're going through a crazy hard time. We're much smaller than that. And we learn, I don't know, you have to go through it. You don't get to escape it.
You don't get to skip any steps.
And you're not doing anything wrong by going through it. If you're one of these small businesses, listen to me and Mike talk, and you're going through the grind and the terrible, congratulations. That's exactly what we did too, right? You don't, and Chad will say the same thing. You don't get to not go through it.
And that's what this kid does. I keep calling him a kid. That's what Dan does. He'll run a tech meeting, and then he'll go to a different person every time and say, hey, can you tell me what I could have done better?
Yeah.
And that's how he's going so fast, is like asking for this, critique constantly.
Yeah. Jonah, who works for me, Timmy, there's a handful of guys that always want to have you tell them, am I doing okay? Do I need to do better? And that's so refreshing, right? A couple more things, and thank you for your time. We're about to wrap up. So this one says, Mike, your openness is awesome. Thank you. Next question was, who wrote the book and what was the title again? I think they're talking about traction, and the author is Gino Wickman. That book's been around for a long time. It's a must read. There's also a whole company behind it, the EOS system. You can hire some of these people to come. Have you ever hired any of the EOS integrators or the people to come work with you, or have you just done it in-house?
I haven't. I think we probably would. And then our quarterly meetings are kind of clunky. I'd want to see one that's run really well. So I would like to, in the next year, have an implementer come out. I think they're maybe $5,000 a day or something like that.
I think it's about that. I mean, it's not a cheap thing, but it's I think the people who do it, like Chris Becker, a lot of people know Chris. He uses EOS implementer for a while until they felt like they really didn't need him anymore. Like, it's not a permanent gig. It can kind of help get you going and then let go. But let me make sure I don't have any more. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. Well, any final words, Mike? Any final words of wisdom? Or if there's a guy that is, 2 to 5 trucks, what would you tell him in this spot to get through that?
I tell him to go to see you and go to see Chad. Like all I know is my experience, which is not you've had so many companies go through your program that you start to see all these trends and know exactly what they should do at certain times.
Well, thank you.
And
You
same
you
with
do.
Chad.
You can see it.
And same with Chad, he knows, he's like, oh, here's exactly where you're at. Here's exactly what you need. Um, and I would do that. I mean, Chad's still my business coach,
Yeah.
he's the one who got me in this mess. He, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, he was, he's like on this career path kick, right? He's like, you need career paths. So all these employees will, they know they have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And so I started writing that out and I was like, oh man, this is a real pain in the ass. I was like, maybe I could just grow my business fast enough to where everyone sees it and knows that there's opportunity and I don't have to write these damn career paths out. So I totally
the career path is stick with me and we're going to make careers.
So I'm growing the business out of laziness.
A lot of people say that once it gets to a certain size. I think Chad says Mike has a superpower in gaining relationships and sponging off those in the best way. But that's a compliment. I mean, I think all of us, we just take what we do probably better than the average person is we don't really come up with anything new, but we implement on what we see faster than other people. Like almost none of the stuff I've ever done did I actually create, but I saw it and I implemented it fast. And I know that's a fact about you. You're a super fast implementer of ideas. And I think that to Chad's point, you see it and move on it, where a lot of people see it, they just don't move on it. And if you have the knowledge and don't do anything with it, it's the same as never having the knowledge.
At least once a day, I say progress, not perfection, to somebody. And, it's kind of finding these, I like being on the forums because you find the pain points. It's like, oh, we can't hire people. So I'm like, oh, we need to figure out how to hire people and unlock that key right now when everybody else is struggling with that. And and then it was, oh, we can't find trucks. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out and buy 30 trucks or whatever. I mean, not that I did the recruiting thing. I mean, Shannon and Angelica Wright on our team, every day they A/B test something and it just gets better and better. And their process is like, just blows me away.
Well, again, what you just said about A/B testing is a system you've created. It's you when you look back at all your success, you've created systems that you can build on and other people can build on and actually makes your life better or replicatable or at least trackable. Like you can track. A/B testing is a tracking system for what works better. And that's a system that I bet 99% of the people out there don't have any kind of marketing or especially in hiring is A/B testing of what's working and what isn't. I know we don't have that. We do it on some Facebook things and some marketing, but we don't do it in hiring. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, with anything, you're like, hey, let me test with half the people. I'll schedule them on Tuesday. Half the people, I'll schedule them on Thursday. What's the better day to schedule them for interviews? And okay, now we know it's Thursday. So let's move on to the next A/B test. And you do that for a year and you have a pretty good process.
Pretty good system.
And I don't have to be here and it's just continually, I got pretty sick earlier this year and I don't have to.
That's a great point, Mike. And Mike, not to go in details, but Mike had a health issue that took him out of whack for a while, was out of the blue, and it really talks to the point of the necessity to build a business. So, because if you hadn't built the business, I mean, you'd be in a bad situation. Or if you had all the keys to the castle, the whole business could have been wrecked with what you went through.
For me, it feels safe to build a bigger business and have these redundancies. And so, whereas maybe some other people would, I don't know. To me, I just see what the alternative is. And to me, it's a safer path, even though it is, kind of, I don't know what you call it.
Scary, frustrating.
It could be scary. Yeah.
You know, the reason I wrote that book is because I watched my mom build a one-person accounting business and fail. My sister, her husband was a framer, he's a builder. He got hurt, business went down the tubes. And I was building that exact same business with my super small chimney business. And I'm like, and then I fell and got hurt. And it's kind of an older story, but it was the aha moment that I have built something that is totally vulnerable, totally fragile to my health, sickness, all kinds of things could just crash and ruin this business. So wouldn't it be better to build it that it really could remove me and still run, and I still had an income source and a source of value for the business? It seemed to me to be better. Now, it's not for everybody. Everybody can't be Mike Fasy. Don't want to be Mark Stoner, or not going to be, it's not going to be Chad, Lindemann, but you got to be you. And whatever you're watching this, whatever you is, I think multiple people and locations and career paths and a true business is safer than the other alternative of building one that just, if something happens to the owner, it's over with. I can't tell you, probably 4 or 5 times this year, somebody called me, one person operation wanted me to buy their business out of desperation. And almost all bigger businesses, people call you to buy their business. I had it happen with a sheet metal guy, another powder coater, like some chimney guys, please buy my business. I'm like, you don't have anything to buy. And so for you, for me, one of the other things is to truly build an asset that's worth selling. But Mike, I know we could talk all night.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a question. What's the name of Mike's business?
Oh, funny.
It just
It's
changed.
yeah, it's Mike's Mobile was the name for a long time, and then we're rebranding in the middle of it right now to Den Defenders.
Right. You went through a pretty high-powered agency, went through a lot of testing to come up with your new brand and the whole thing, right?
Yeah, pretty brutal process actually. So if you involve people in it, they said don't try not to involve people in that, and they were super right. But yeah, it's Kick Charge Creative, and there's a lot of psychology that goes behind it, and they're I'd say the number one branding company in the nation. They're
Kick Charge Creative.
Kick Charge Creative, yeah, Dan Antonelli, but their book's solid. I mean, they're like 9 months out or something so they're
Yeah.
good.
Couple last things. Chad says hospitals suck. Build a business that survives if you go to one. Yeah, I mean, Chad knows.
Chad knows.
And then you build a business with your employees' careers as a first priority, and you won't lose. Yeah, great stuff, Mike. How to thank you for tonight. And man, thanks for taking time out of your 10x day. I know even just this little time, your timer clicked down and you helped a bunch of people. We've lost some of your timer. So, but guys, thanks for tonight. Mike, thank you for joining us, man. And anytime you want to come on, any milestone, any aha moment, you've been super helpful to this industry. And thank you I know it's not your comfort zone, but you're obviously becoming more comfortable at it. And our industry is really the better for it. So thank you, Mike.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thanks,
all right,
Mark.
buddy. Thanks. Have a good night. Man, I love talking to that guy. I think we're still on the phone. So the fantastic stuff. I know he probably can't hear me now. I should have left the phone going. But that being said, thank you for everybody who watched tonight. Mike is a superstar. Mike is willing to help anybody. He's got the right heart. Love to promote those kind of people that are fast movers, but big hearted people and want more for other people. Like he said, it does as much for us to see other people grow. We're in your corner cheering you on. I'll be the biggest cheerleader of anybody growing or living their best life in whatever size business they want. I don't want to always say that growing and building a business is the only way, because it's not. It's simply sometimes terrible for some people. You've got to be wired for it, or get with a team of people that you're all wired for some kind of success. All right, guys, that's our time for tonight. We'll be back next week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.